In today's episode, I interview Shannon Shannon Vondy. She shares her accidental CEO story of transitioning from a wedding photographer to becoming an email marketing expert. She discovered the power of email marketing when she sent a single email and made $2,600 from it. Shannon really emphasizes the importance of building an email list and brings down some misconceptions about email marketing, such as the fear of bothering people and the ideal size of your email list. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. We had a lot of great tips for you. If you're thinking about using email marketing, this is definitely an episode for you. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. This is Shannon Vondy, also known as Miss Vondy or Shannon Vondy. I mean, all the titles. Or
so many
email
names.
Queen. So many names. So she's going to talk to us today about utilizing email marketing in your business and how that can be very helpful to you. So welcome, Shannon.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So I want you to start with just your story of maybe your accidental CEO story. I know that you were also or is also still a wedding photographer and, guiding people now through email marketing. But tell us, how did you get to that point in your life?
Yeah. Since it's accidental CEO, I literally started my photography business thinking it would give me more free time. Like that is literally why I was like, oh, I'll just be a photographer and then I'll have more time to work on things. And I mean, I was coming from the film industry, which is if anyone's ever worked in the film industry, it's literally like a huge, 20-hour a day industry. I'm not even exaggerating. So it was definitely more free time, but I just didn't realize I was starting a business when I did that. And so then I ran my photography business, once I finally figured out what I was doing for many years. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2020. My business that I'd had for almost 10 years to that point almost completely was gone, like just in months. And so I, like everyone else, was, what do I do? I'll give you the shorter version is I had heard about email marketing. I had tried it in my business before. I didn't really see results, but I started helping somebody during that time of not having anything on my calendar for months. I started helping somebody who was an email marketer and she taught me a few things. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this again. Let's just see what happens. And so I kind of compiled I had emails I collected, but they were kind of all over the place. I got them together. I sent one email and I made $2,600. I was like, oh, this is why everyone says you need an email list.
We'll dive into that $2,600, email a little bit more, but I want to back up a little bit. I know you at some point in your wedding photography career work with your husband. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. I met my husband at a wedding. He was a groomsman and I was the photographer. And then we wound up shooting weddings together for, I don't know, I guess we're going on 10. He started with me in 2011. So I don't know what's the math on that. Forever. We've been doing it together forever.
13 years.
Yeah.
How is working with your spouse on the wedding day?
Honestly, we work really, really well together on the wedding day. We just know what we need. It's really nice. I recommend if you have somebody you can do that with, I highly recommend it. However, I know that that's not for everyone. So, don't run and make your husband or spouse or whoever you partner start taking photos if that's not the thing, although that is what I did to my husband. It's really great. Like we work really, really well together. I'm sure that's maybe frustrating for some people to hear, but we both know our ultimate goal is to make our clients have the best day possible. So we both work on that together.
That's great. I know there's a lot of people in the wedding industry that do work with their partner, and I always like to hear the different stories and the points of view of people working with their spouse. So love that. So tell us a little bit more about the story behind that pivotal $2,600 email and what it taught you about just the power of email marketing for your business.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I honestly thought it was a fluke when I first sent it. I was like, oh, this is just a one-time thing. And so a few months later, I sent a few more emails and I made another $1,400. And I was like, okay. So I set up a few systems in my back end to just kind of automatically sell. And by the end of the year, I made $13,000 just from email marketing alone. And I was like, how come nobody's like teaching this? Do other business owners and photographers like know about this? Like, I wish I had known about it a lot sooner. That would have been many weddings for me earlier in my career. And then as I thought of it too, I'm like, oh, I kind of slept on email for 10 years in my business. That's a lot of money I slept on. So then I realized somebody does need to teach this. So maybe that person should be me. So that's how I accidentally fell into being an email business.
There you go. What was that email about? Do you remember the specifics of it?
um, the $2,600 one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ran a print sale. That's really what I did is I just ran a print sale. And so sent it to my current clients at the time. And I just said, hey, I think it was right around my birthday. So I think I ran it as a birthday print sale. And I was honestly shocked because I know probably a lot of photographers think this. I used to think this forever, that nobody wants prints, right? Like I was like, nobody wants prints. They just want the digitals. Why bother trying to sell them? Or like they're available, but no one was buying them. And then you put it all together and suddenly it makes sense, right?
Yeah, when you make it easier for people to do things, it's amazing how much more they do
Yeah.
it. I remember making a good amount of income in 2020 with doing print sales because my thought process was we are all stuck at home now, right? People can't go places. There was a big wave of people doing projects at home, right? They're doing home renovations and all those things that they kept putting back, saying that they didn't have time to do. And in my mind, printing your pictures was inside of that category for a lot of people. So I started reaching out to past clients and even future clients and pre-selling some stuff for them, and just helping people to actually get their pictures printed that they maybe took a year or 2 years ago and never had the time to get them printed. So that's how I made a good amount of money during the months that I couldn't be shooting during COVID. So definitely believe that I know that that works for sure.
Yeah, and it still works. Like even I think that was the thought process originally, but what's crazy is it still works. I still make 10K or more a year just from automated emails in my photography business. And I don't even take that many weddings or sessions that much anymore. And it's all automatic. So it literally works. Like people want to buy prints and want to have those, right? Like so they just need help figuring out what they need to do and when to buy it.
Yeah, that's perfect. So after transitioning from wedding photography to becoming the email queen, where were some of the initial challenges that you faced in that transition, and how did you overcome them?
I'm having a hard time remembering too many crazy. I think one of the big ones was actually in 2021. We wound up putting basically all of our 2020 weddings and 2021 weddings in like a 5-month window and didn't get paid for them because we'd already been paid the previous year because everybody still paid their payments. And I was panicking because I thought, how am I going to make money? Because we've already gotten paid. And now we have this run of just weddings that I've got to, it was just insane. And I realized that was email, right? So email had to be the thing that would support me through that. And it totally did, right? Like I just made sure that was because it's something you can set up that you don't have to constantly be hands on with. You don't need to trade your time for dollars as the same way you do with like a photography job. Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I hit as far as a problem I had. And I realized email solved it. But as far as transitioning into doing that, because now that's kind of email has become more my full time, whereas photography is now kind of more of my part time. I guess I got pretty lucky. And I was also just so excited to get to help people with email that I was really pumped I'll be honest, I was kind of looking for a change a little bit before 2020. And so I think that was part of it is I found something I was really passionate about and excited to tell people about and excited to help people with because I had been that photographer sitting in my feelings and just working so hard and then still struggling to pay my bills. Like I had been that person forever. And so it was really nice to be able to like realize I could help other people get out of that like cycle.
Did you feel a difference between, and not that we don't do that. I feel like we sit at our computers a lot as the wedding photographers, right? I talk about how much of a such a polar ends of the spectrum when it comes to what we do with our body. So we're either sitting for many, many hours on the computer, or we're up on our feet for 10 to 12 hours carrying equipment, going up and down the stairs and squatting. So our body gets really confused. But I'm sure there was a change in pace too for you when it comes from just shooting weddings to now working on the quote unquote behind the scenes of the business. So how did you adapt to that? Or was that maybe something that you were looking forward to and it was a welcome change?
That's such a great question. And that's so well said too, because we literally do. Sometimes I'll get in these positions and people are like, how are you doing? I'm like, yoga. Because it's, what we have to do to take photos. Yeah, what's funny? I think because we had such big chunks of weddings being rescheduled, we were still kind of in them with the email. But now that is an interesting thing because we're not photographing as much. I will say I do kind of enjoy having my weekends back. That was kind of a big motivator for me, was to have, like, I realized in COVID, that was the most weekends I'd had in a row in like 10 years. I'm like, this is nice. People get these. Like, these are really nice. So that was a motivator for me as well. So I don't miss the like pain of day after shooting a wedding. But yeah, that definitely is interesting. I do find I tend to have a better workout routine now because of, I'm probably not at weddings, or, I used to take photos of like babies and stuff too. And that's always a workout too. So
Yeah.
I do find that I have to keep to a workout routine to keep myself, in shape. But yeah, that's definitely, I have to think about that some more too, because that's true. You really don't spend as much time doing the crazy thing anymore.
Yeah. People think they sweat in a Zumba class. Try to take pictures of a newborn. You get
Exactly. I'm like, if you're not sweating when you're taking newborn photos, you're not doing it right.
a workout by itself for sure. So let's talk about the email club. So you have a membership called the email club, and that sounds like a fantastic resource for business owners, and I can attest to that. Can you explain a little bit of what it offers and how it helps the members kind of leverage the email marketing just more efficiently?
I wanted a place that we could come as business owners and learn email, but also like support each other and help each other with things, because email and marketing in general is such a consistently fluid medium that it's always changing and we're always experimenting and trying new things. So I was like, it'd be great if we had a space that like we could all kind of help each other and discuss things that are like, hey, so and so tried this and that worked really well to get more email subscribers, or think, just ways that we can really work together as business owners to make life easier. So then inside, I also want to give members ways to make email easier as well. So there's an entire email template database that they can use, because that's something I hear people say they just don't know what to say. So we provide new email templates every month for the members to use. We have workshops, we have co-working, so that way we can actually get things done. Because how often do we sign up for something and then like never either use it or just don't know what to do with it? So, or like just don't implement, right? So having a co-working, I feel like really helps us to get those things accomplished. Gosh, there's so much inside. And I also wanted it to be really fun. So I also give out prizes for people when they send their emails. Like they can win prizes like email shout outs and money towards buying more templates or things that they need support with. So yeah, we have a lot of fun in there. It's a really fun community.
That's such a good offer, I feel like, too, with everything that is in there combined with the ability to get together with other people too and get stuff done, because we do sit lonely on our computers very often, outside of the weekends where we, again, two extremes. We're either by ourselves in front of the computer or we're surrounded by a lot of people, overwhelmingly amounts of people for some of us. So
Exactly.
having to deal with both can be a little daunting sometimes. So it's nice to have a space where you can go and get some work done with people that are kind of going in the same direction and working towards the same goal that you are. So that's great that you offer that. And you offer a range of services from like done for you emails to business mentoring. How do you tailor these services to meet like the unique needs of each one of your clients?
I tend to be a pretty intuitive person. So like I can kind of get a feel for somebody pretty quickly. So it's always weird to me when people don't. So that's why it's so strange, right? Like, it's like when we're good at something, it's hard to explain how you do it because it's just something that comes to you. But I will say that, like, I really just try and listen to what people are saying they want, what they need, figure out what their actual goal is, right? So a lot of times that's actually hard part for us as business owners too, is like, yeah, we want something, but like why and what is the actual goal, right? Like maybe we want to make more money each month, but like the goal may not be book more sessions, right? Like the goal might be, how can I make that more passively, or how can I do things like this? So I always like to get to the root of what is going on and what they want and what the goal is. And then we can focus on what strategies we want to use to get there.
Yeah, I'm sure that makes a difference to try to tailor to the uniqueness of each business. And I feel like we struggle sometimes as business owners just to verbalize what is it that we want to accomplish. And I'm sure you get that a lot when you're coaching. Sometimes we know what we want, but we don't know exactly how we want it to get it, or why do we want it, what we wanted. So it's good to kind of have somebody to guide you through that process and just add some clarity around the end goal and how you're going to get there.
Exactly. And we're also close to our own businesses. I mean, I think we all struggle from trying to figure out seeing a bigger picture when we're so close to our businesses. I think, like, I even struggle with that too. I can help somebody all day long, but then my own stuff, sometimes I need support too, right? Like, we all kind of need somebody who can go, hey, did you look at it this way? And you're like, oh, yes, that's it. That's the thing. Like, that's how I want to get there. That's what I want to do. That's the thing.
Yeah, nothing like coaching. I'm a big proponent of coaching. So, what are some of the common misconceptions about email marketing that you encounter frequently when you're working with people?
Ooh, so many. So many. One I was literally just talking about recently. I find a lot of business owners are hesitant to send email. Like, they're just, I don't know what to say. I'm going to bother people. Like, that's probably one of the biggest things I hear from people. And I always say, like, people on an email list signed up to hear from you. Like, they want to hear what you have to say. They have said, I like what you have and I want more of it. And like, why are you hesitating to write to them? Like, why are you hesitating to send them things? They have said they want to hear from you. And so I think that I actually have a theory that because, like, on social, we'll post all day, we'll show up all the time. We work on our social strategy so hard. But then when it comes to email, we're like hesitant to dive in. And I think it's because when we post on social, we almost get instant gratification, right? As soon as we post something, somebody likes it or comments or says something. And in email, yes, you can get responses. You can get people to click things and often buy and that kind of stuff. But you don't really necessarily always get the instant gratification, and maybe not instantly either, right? Like, it may take a week for somebody to decide to buy or respond or whatever. So I think we tend to think we're talking to nothing, so it's like, is this even working? Because, like, no one is giving us feedback. And so, I mean, gosh, I could go on about misconceptions, but I don't want to, make this whole podcast about that.
That's definitely a big one, like thinking that you're bothering people. Yeah, I love how you put that and explain compared to social media, and I think it makes 100% sense there with the instant gratification and just not seeing that right away. You might think, well, maybe they don't want to hear from me. How do you help some of your clients see that response other than, or maybe it is just the metrics, but how do you help them see that they should be reaching out more often, they should be sending those emails more often?
Well, I mean, one thing I will often say is, like, yes, you're gonna get unsubscribes, right? That's something I think people get really scared of for I'm not 100% sure why. I know sometimes I get my feelings hurt too when I see that unsubscribe number. I'm like, what was wrong with the email? But, like, you never know. Like, first of all, if they're unsubscribing, they're just not your people, and that's okay. Like, let them go. You don't want to keep people that don't want to be there. Or they may be dealing with something completely different in life. Sometimes I switch email addresses, right? Like, I'm signing up on a different email. And so I don't want to be on this email because I'm not seeing them. So I'm unsubscribing because it's filling that inbox. I'm not looking at them anyway. So it's not helping you. Like, there's so many reasons people may or may not be getting on or off your email list. And so that's something I like to try and keep kind of focused for people. And then, I like to say too, it's like, how can we make this fun? Like, how can we make this exciting? Like, if you're sending stuff that lights you up and makes you excited and makes you feel good, what's wrong there? Like let's keep that going. And how do we know it's quote unquote working? well, if you keep doing it, you are going to see results. First of all, if you keep going, because the more you practice something, the better you're going to get. But also you can see in data too, like you see your opens, you see, people clicking things. I actually would bet too, within sending regular emails, like once a week for a certain period of time, you're going to get people saying things. Like I almost instantly had people saying like, I love your emails. I didn't even know they were on my email list. So it's one of those things that I think you will see results sooner than you expect to see them. Just do it. Just keep doing it.
Do you have just maybe as a feel for it? Because I don't know if there's a specific amount of time, or I know things vary from business to business, but when people start using email marketing to sell their services or their products, is there a time frame where you normally see, after X amount of months, you can start seeing results from emailing people?
So that's a really good question. And I hate this answer, and I know it's a frustrating answer, but it does kind of depend on what the business is and what you're selling, and or who, like, you may be changing or pivoting. Like it's just really hard to say what you've got, right? And how warm your audience is. There's just a lot of variables to give a like strict amount of time. But I mean, I will say from like my clients that I work for, like Done For You, my team and I write emails for some for some businesses, and we usually start to see really solid results. Like after about 3 months, we can really get a good feel for the data, what people are liking, what they're doing. And then the next 3 months, we can really start selling more and like understanding that audience better, because we're starting to get to know what it is they're responding to, what they need, what they want, and like really honing in on the messaging. So that's why, I mean, I would say that, but again, it just really depends on what you're doing. And it might take you longer because you may need more time to perfect your messaging. And especially if you're not working with somebody or getting feedback on emails or things you're sending, it might take you longer because you don't know what you don't know. So I would say if you have been sending emails for either a longer period of time, or you're just starting to kind of get into it and you want to see better results, find somebody who can help you with that, right? Like if that's me, great, I'd love to help you. But if that's somebody else or like another coach or whoever, get somebody to start looking at what you're doing and sending, because again, it's about that big picture versus small picture, right? Like we're so close to it, we can't see it. And so if somebody says, I mean, I literally had somebody have a freebie and I was like, she wasn't getting any signups. And I looked at her signup page and I'm like, wait, is this free? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, it doesn't say free on it. And she was like, oh, and she literally just added the word free in like an extra sentence and got signups like crazy. People it just wasn't clear. It was the easiest switch, but it was just one tiny thing she didn't see, So that's why I say, if you're struggling at all or like wanting to see better results in anything you're doing, find an expert to help you get there.
Hey there, are you a creative professional looking to elevate your business and artistic vision? Discover the transformative power of personalized coaching tailored specifically for creatives like you. During the sessions, I dive into the unique challenges and goals for your specific business, especially as a creative entrepreneur. That's very important because what you do, it is special and it is different than everybody else. You're going to break through some mental barriers and cultivate a mindset that really nurtures the creativity and resilience of your business. We're going to enable you to thrive in both your personal and professional life. That is my goal for you. If you're ready to embark in an amazing journey of one-on-one coaching with me, hop over to accidentalceo.co and let's get you to be the CEO that you're meant to be. I want to touch a little bit on email list sizes because I know that's a big topic of discussion when it comes to email marketing. How small is too small? How big do I need to get to sell? Let's talk a little bit about just misconceptions when it comes to the size of your email list and what you can do with even a small list size.
I say no email list is too small, right? Like I always say to picture a room of that many people. So like if you have 10 people on your email list, imagine a room of 10 people, right? Like if you could talk to 10 people in a room, you had to speak to all of them sitting there staring at you, you'd be a little intimidated for a second if you haven't done a lot of speaking, right? Or maybe you're a weirdo like me and just don't fear public speaking. Like, literally, like I just am a weirdo. But it's weird. Like, right? So 10 people is still a lot of people. So it's all relative with email. And like, I think we get hung up again with social media and numbers and seeing those, that we need to have these like crazy huge email lists in order to like see anything. And then also I find a lot of the quote unquote gurus that talk about email tend to have this thing about like, you'll only sell to 2% of your email list. And I've disproven that so many times. I think the warmer and like the more specific of an email list you have, like the people you have on your email list, and you have something that is specifically for them, the more defined that is, the more you're going to sell. So I have sold things to people with email lists of just 20 people, and we secured $14,000 worth of income from 20 people on an email list, because it was a hyper targeted segment of people on my client's bigger email list. I've done that with a list of 50 people. I've sold like I think 12 to 15 spots in something, and that's far more than 2%. So I think that people get a little hung up in that number, which I mean, I understand. There's a lot of, like I said, quote unquote gurus talking about different things. But I will say a myth I common here is, oh, I really want to grow my list so I can sell. And I would say, if you can't sell to who is on your email list at a small amount, you're probably not going to be, your messaging isn't going to be landing better with a big list, right? Like if you can't sell at like to 10 people, how are you going to sell to 100? So really, list size doesn't matter in my mind if you are hyper targeted and have a really good strategy going. It really is kind of cool that way, I think.
Yes, I like it. Yeah, those are great points. And I feel like you said, we hear a lot about these percentages and how you have, not that you don't have to make an effort to continue to grow your list. I think that's a good goal to have, but the amount of people in there shouldn't stop you from trying to sell to them and help them and offer the solutions that you have to offer just because it's a smaller number. Can you share with us maybe a success story of how your email marketing strategies help one of your clients? Give me maybe one or two success stories.
I mean, I did just mention the client that we ran a strategy for her. She's a service-based business, and we ran a strategy to resell her clients back into, because she has an annual service that she offers. And so we resold them back into that offer once they were done. They had a great experience with her, and we like leapt on it, right? They were feeling good. They were excited. They enjoyed their time with her. And we're like, hey, do you want to sign up for next year now? You can have an extended payment plan, or you can just pay in full. And then next year it's already taken care of. And people jumped on it. They were like, yeah, of course, this is a no-brainer. And that was 4 emails. Literally, we sent 4 emails and secured $14,000 worth of income for her. So it's just crazy what you can do. I had another client that wrote a book, and she was wanting to publish it. And she's like, can you help me with the email? I was like, yeah, absolutely. When was the last time you emailed? And she's like, I don't know. It's been years. I was like, okay. And she had a decent sized list. She had like, I think about 650 people on her list of just people she collected over the years. She really hadn't emailed them at all in quite some time, like years. And so she wanted to launch the book sooner. And I said, give me 2 months. And she was like, okay. And so she gave me 2 months to warm up that audience again, start talking to them again, getting them excited about what was coming. And day 1 of that book launch, I mean, there was a lot of other things going into this, but we sold 250 copies of that book. So it was definitely, email helped a lot with that. And I know all of our other marketing strategies did too, but it was definitely email helped warm those people up. They were telling her how much they loved her emails before the book even went out. Like we really just got people excited to be there and excited to be a part of it. And so they had to have the book on day 1.
That's great. I love that. Very interesting to hear about how you can still reach out to those people after that long of a gap in communication and be effective if you kind of prep them for what's coming.
Absolutely.
It will probably not be as effective and as much of a smart idea to just, I haven't talked to you in years, but here, buy my book, right away, right off the bat. So it's good to have a good strategy. And that's where a lot of the coaching and mentoring comes in, and understanding the strategy around using email marketing and not just emailing for the sake of emailing. So that's great. So email marketing can be a little overwhelming for people, especially in the beginning of their business endeavors. What are your top tips for someone just starting to explore email marketing?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love helping people who are new to email because we've all been there, and it was so intimidating for me for years. So don't feel like scared if you are literally new to email. We've all been there. So things I recommend doing, and it's actually really simple to start emailing. So I would say pick an email provider. That is number one. Nata and I both use Flowdesk. We like using that. It works really well, especially if you're a creative photographer or whatever it is you do. It is a really creative platform. It's really easy to use. It's user friendly. We like that one a lot. I think we both have codes that we can give you to get a discount on using that as well. If you want something free, like you're just literally not like cannot spend any money on something, I would check out Mailer Lite, Lite. That one is free up to like, I think 1,000 subscribers, and it has a pretty good backend. It's not quite as pretty as Flowdesk. There's not many templates in there and things like that. But honestly, emails don't have to be pretty to work. So I know you're all creative, so you're going to want the pretty
Yeah.
thing. So I say, I was the same. Once I found Flowdesk, I was like, oh, I can email. This is nice. So pick a platform. And it honestly does not matter. You can always change platforms. I did. So like, it's okay. If you pick something and then later you change your mind, you can switch platforms. It's not a big deal. I would then go in there and figure out how to create like a way to collect email addresses. In Flowdesk, it's called a form. In other platforms, it's usually called an opt-in form or opt-in of some kind. Google your platform and, opt in, and you'll find something on YouTube to walk you through how to do this. And then I would start posting that. So basically your opt-in is going to be like, get on my email list. I would give people a reason to be there. Like, what are you going to talk about? Tell them like why they should be interested in being in your email list. And then just start posting it, telling people it exists. I'm starting an email list. Get on my email list. It's brand new. Join. That's what I did when I started. I didn't know what I was going to email about, and I would email about all kinds of things. And so I just started emailing, and I grew to like 50 people. I mean, it took a while, but because I wasn't promoting a freebie or anything like that. I mean, that's a really great strategy too, but I just started simple. And so I just started collecting and talking about every week, hey, I'm sending another email. Get on my email list here. I literally did that every week for like 10 weeks. And I think I got like 50 people within that time. I mean, like I said, it took some time, but it was easy.
Bone growing.
Exactly. I do have a mini course too. If somebody's just like, I don't know what to do, I have a mini course of walking you through how to set up your Flowdesk in just 1 hour. So if anyone needs it, just find me and you can get that too.
Perfect. We can link that on
Okay, perfect.
show notes for you guys. That would be a great resource to have. How do you stay creative and keep your email content kind of engaging to make sure that there's a high open and click through rate?
I use so many different things. So like I really enjoy getting inspired by other people too. So sometimes I just enjoy seeing what other people are doing. I have just an email address just for email lists so that I can literally look through them. And then other times I just sometimes experiment things. So we won't go woo here, but that's like part of my human design. So if you're not an experimenter, if that feels weird to you, that might be because it's just not your personality. But I'm one of those people who likes to just try different things and see what happens. So sometimes I just test things and I'm like, oh, I have an idea. Let's see what happens. But another way I really like staying creative, sometimes I'll just like go on Pinterest too and just look through things, designs. Sometimes it's email related, sometimes it's not, just to kind of get my creative juices flowing. I feel like as photographers, we are all very visual people. So sometimes you just need to get that like vibe going, and then you kind of have a creative idea. And something I'd say too is if you're sitting there going, I just don't know what to write about, like all your emails do not have to be business related. I've talked about yoga, I've talked about cookies, like you can literally talk about things that are not business related, or you can tie a story that's seemingly not business related into business related. Like we say in our membership, as you know, everything's an email. Like literally everything in your life is an email. So just tell a story. People want to know more about you. They want to know what you do. And like, even if it's the most mundane thing, they can relate. Their kitchen is messy too. They want to hear about you. They want to hear that they are not alone, that their kitchen is always a disaster. Like we just want to feel seen and related to people. So I just try and keep things. Sometimes I do topical things depending on what's going on. Sometimes I don't. And you can always ask people too if you're lost, right? Throw it up on social somewhere and say, hey, what do you guys want to hear about? Like, I just saw somebody do this yesterday. That she's like, I want to make sure my email list is really interesting for you and that you always want to open and read my emails. And she gave them like a multiple choice of things. Like, what do you want to hear about most? And people were voting on it like crazy. So ask.
Yep.
If worst case, always ask.
I was going to say, I feel like you're really good at also tying in current events and things that are happening around us that we are already talking about anyway. So people are more likely to engage and read something around what is being talked about than maybe a random email. So you do a really good job with that. I remember the Taylor Swift emails and the Valentine's Day, date emails and things like that. So just staying current with
Oh,
what people were talking about already, and it will help you also stay engaged with your list. So,
and I know nothing about Taylor Swift, y'all. I had to have I
right.
have a team member who knows Taylor Swift, and I put that in the email. I said, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I had a member who is a Swiftie read the email, and I was like, does this work? So don't be scared if you don't know something about something. It's
Mhm.
okay. But
That's
thank you for
awesome.
saying that. That's so sweet, and I'm glad that they are memorable for you.
Yes, I actually am one of those people who read emails, believe it or not. Everything,
Same.
all of them. So you really emphasize that email marketing can be easy, fun, and profitable. Can you just give an example of maybe a fun campaign that you created and that resulted in some good profit for you or maybe a client?
So I would say a lot of things that do really well for me are kind of thinking about analogies and or stories do really well. So I try and tell, I mean, really, you mentioned two things, right? Like you mentioned a Taylor Swift email I wrote, which I think was like in November. So it's been a minute since that email went out.
Yeah.
And then, so I always try and like tie in things that like might make you either think about it differently or just like things that are happening that are, again, people want to know they're not the only ones with like a messy kitchen, or that their husband knows the people at the bagel shop. Like I don't know, people want to hear these crazy things. So I always try and tie those in when it comes to making it just relatable, right? Like showing people that you are a person too, and that you have the same fears and hopes and dreams that like other people do, and that we're all in this together. So I do try and tie that into a lot of my marketing and selling, because it makes us realize that we're real human beings going through this crazy life together.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about people in the beginning and what they should focus on. So now for the business owners that are already making some money, but maybe they're looking into scaling opportunities. How does email marketing fit into just a broader digital marketing strategy and the first steps that you recommend them to take to kind of integrate that effectively into their systems?
Depends on what you're doing and what exactly you want to do. But a strategy I find that works pretty well for pretty much any business is, I think a lot of times in email, we think about, okay, I need this, like, what do I do with new people coming to me, right? And that's great. Like, you absolutely should have a welcome email, if not a sequence, to welcome people to your list. You don't, if you're brand new, you can skip this for a little bit, but I do have a template. I think I'll give it to you. I give it to you, or I gave it to you. I don't know. We'll give it to you. That I have a free, welcome to my email list template we'll give you. So that'll be really easy for you to set up. And if you float us, you can just click and add it now. But the point here too is, although that is great, something I think that we overlook and a lot of business owners overlook is how to sell to people who already know, like, and trust you. So that would be your previous clients, right? Like people who already have bought from you before. So I think it's even better if we can explore ways in our business to build funnels that can sell to those people. So like print sales, for instance, is a really great system for getting people to come back and buy from you. Why that was so successful, why that $2,600 email was so successful for me, was that it's already people that knew, like, and trust me. I didn't have to warm them up. They were already warmed up. They already knew what I offer is a good product. What they're getting is a good value. So I didn't need to give them a ton of reassurance, right? So I think that that's something we can look at in any business, is like, where have you sold to people and where can you either sell to them again or get them to maybe even shout you out, right? Like a referral system or something like that too would be a really great way to start using email and seeing results from it almost instantly, because you're hitting on people that, again, already know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I've been asking our interviewees, our guests in the podcast, is about failures, because we know that going from an accidental CEO into a purposeful boss and queen like you are includes going through some failures and learning some lessons. So, what was a big failure that became a very big lesson learned for you?
I knew this question was coming, and I don't know if I prepared a great answer, but I mean, I also have really tried hard in my mindset to not necessarily look at things so much as failures as it is an opportunity to do better or learn something, because sometimes it's not about doing better, it's just a lesson, right? So I'm working really hard on my mindset to not go too deep as like, oh, I regretting it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I would say even just my story, right? Like I felt like a failure in 2020 when my business almost crumbled in a few months and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I remember even saying, if weddings aren't this fall, like we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And they weren't, So it was like learning that with my back against the wall, I can still figure it out. I can still pivot. I still have something to offer the world was actually just like really valuable. What may have looked like a failure, and like literally hearing people say, I want my money back, which was no fault of mine. I didn't, create this virus in the world, but hearing that, and I still sometimes I realize even to this day, I still have a little PTSD to it. So we probably all do. But yeah, so I realized that like, even when it looks the darkest, there is always another way. There is always another way, especially if you bet on yourself, because you're not going to fail yourself, right? Like at the end of the day, yes, you might make a bad choice. You might make a bad decision or a decision you wish you hadn't, right? But at the end of the day, if you put your energy into you, you can control you, right? Like if the problem is you can fix that. That's a really easy thing to fix. You are in control of yourself. So I think that that's kind of what I've like tried to learn from my quote unquote failures is, okay, yes, this may look like a failure now, but maybe it's actually the beginning of another opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. And I can relate to that. I try not to dwell on things for too long and kind of just move on and try to learn from it, but look for the next step and how I can continue moving forward. So that's great. Tell everybody where they can find you if they want to use your services or maybe join the email club, and we'll definitely link it for them too, but say it out loud.
Perfect. I basically live on Instagram, so come find me there. I'm at Mrs.Vondy, V as in Victor, Ondy. And come DM me. Let me know that you found me from this, and I would love to meet you if we haven't met already. And then you can also find me on my website at theemailclub.co, co, not .com. And yeah, we'll drop you guys the link for the email club membership. That's just the emailclub.co/membership, but we'll drop the link for you. Would love to have you guys inside if that's something that feels aligned for you. And yeah, we'll help you make sure your emails are working and making you money, and you can take less work if you want, or charge more for your work, or do whatever you want to do with it, money. And yeah, I think I covered it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for being on the show. We have learned a lot from you today. I know that there's a lot more clarity around email marketing now and how it can help all of us. So I appreciate you spending some time with me. And yeah, we'll see you next week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you at the next episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.